Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining our webinar this afternoon. Richard is shortly going to be taking you through EnGenius Fit, which is one of the product lines of EnGenius, which is a vendor that we've signed quite recently. First of all, you'll be in listen-only mode for the session today. So if you do have a question, please pop it in the Q&A box, and we'll either answer it as we're going along, or towards the end, we've allocated some time for Q&A. As you probably heard announced, the session is being recorded. We'll send you a copy of the recording so you can fast forward, rewind bits in your own time. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hand you over into the capable hands of Richard, who's going to be taking you through the EnGenius Fit solution.
Right. Okay. Good afternoon to you all. Right. As Sam has said, over to Richard. Well, I'm Richard. I'm the pre-sales consultant, sales engineer for Open Reality on the wireless product side. So we're going to start through. We're going to do a short introduction, which Sam's already done. Then we'll look at the EnGenius Fit product line. It fits into, there's two areas of it. We've got the Fit Express and the Fit Controller, and then we'll look at the comparison between the two. During the controller and the Fit Express, I'll be logging on to some demo environments, so you can actually see live type in data and the capabilities of the products on that side of it. So, introduction to the EnGenius Fit solution. Now, the EnGenius Fit solution is designed for the small and medium-sized businesses. It's falls into the smaller side. It's designed for the smaller device counts. They have, however, inherited similar hardware platforms as the enterprise-based solutions, but primarily it gives us a reliable, secure, and smart networking Wi-Fi based solution. Now, it's not just Wi-Fi; it's also the switching infrastructure that goes to provide the rest of the wireless solution. So it's not just the access points. It's business grade hardware, but at an affordable price. It's very similar hardware that is being used on the EnGenius AI cloud platform based solution. There are a few more options with the access points on the AI cloud, but we have Wi-Fi 6 access points for EnGenius Fit. We have PoE switches for EnGenius Fit. The hardware is the same, slightly different firmware operating system on it. It's been designed to meet the flexible management options. We have a cloud-based solution and we have a on-prem based solution. So the hardware, we're looking at currently 3 access points for the EnGenius Fit, all of which are Wi-Fi 6, 2 indoor, 1 outdoor. We have a number of PoE switches, only PoE switches. There's no non-PoE switches available, but they're all layer 2 plus switches, the majority of which are PoE plus. Some are just standard, or one is in fact just a PoE only switch, so standard PoE. From the platform, so for the management platform, the hardware doesn't change. That's the important thing. It's you, when you come to install it, do you decide, do I want to use the Express Fit environment, in which case you log into your cloud managed Express Fit portal and onboard the devices, or if you're going down the controller based solution, so the Fit controller, which is an on-prem based solution, you would then log on to your Fit based controller to manage and configure the devices. If you start out with Fit Express and decide that as we've grown and we've outgrown the Express environment, then you can migrate to the Fit controller base. You'll have to reset your switches and your access points and reconfigure, but the hardware is the same hardware. It's no throwing the hardware away to replace the access point with one that looks exactly the same but it's running a different firmware. The two, so Express Fit is designed for zero IT. So it's designed to be extremely simple and very wizard generated based process. So it's a 3 or 4 step process to onboard a device. You scan the barcode on the back to onboard it, and you assign it to your network, and you then configure the SSIDs there. Now there's templated SSIDs in Express Fit that you can staff one and a guest one that you make the changes to. If we move on to the Fit-based controller, it supports more devices. It gives you more scalability, but it also gives you a lot more data autonomy. It all stays in your environment. There's no cloud-based controller communication process involved on that side of it. So drilling into the Express Fit itself a bit further. So this is the cloud-based solution. It's cloud-based. Originally, it started out being app controlled. You can also access it via a web browser, but likewise, you can do all of the configuration and monitoring and management from the EnGenius Fit Express app on your Android or Apple device. There are some limitations, so we can have up to 30 devices, so that's a maximum of 30 either access points or switches, or a combination of two, but no more than 30. And you can have up to 8 networks. Now, networks could be buildings, they could also be floors or departments, or you might want to clump everything into a single network, even though it's split across 2 or 3 floors, 1 floor, etc. in a building. It's up to you how you want to split it. We don't force you to do anything, set format on that side of it. And you can have remote management is obviously made easy, because wherever you've got internet access, you can manage the wireless environment and the switched environment that is hanging on the environment as well for you. The target, 0 IT, multi-location. So if you've got multiple sites where you may have 1 or 2 devices, so a switch and an access point, for example, but you've got 4 sites, Fit Express fits nicely into that, because you can either have 4 individual networks, 1 for each site, or you could actually just have 1 network that encompasses all 4 sites, and your devices are separated accordingly, or get the same configuration. It's up to you how you want to do it. If we go, however, to the Fit controller, it's an on-prem based appliance. It's plug and play. There's no software required. It's the appliance. You just turn it on, give it an Ethernet connection. It can actually be PoE powered. So you just plug it into your switch. It will control up to 100 devices, and you can have up to 50 networks. Generally, you would say this would be a single site. However, if you do have inter-site VPN setups already in situ, then yes, it could control devices on the other end of a VPN on that side of it. There are some more enterprise level features on this Fit controller, i.e. the features that you need, that more the larger customers tend to use, where they have more in-depth requirements, and where they tend to have a little bit more IT understanding and knowledge and skill set, either on-prem, or they want to employing somebody to do it. Now, the thing to remember is that there is no way that you can manage this device externally on it, unless you're leveraging something like a client-to-site VPN to be able to connect to it. On that side, there is currently no cloud-based connector to push this in the Fit controller into the cloud or to control it. So between the two, again, summing up on here, business profile for the Express cloud managed platforms, 0 or less IT. So no IT staff at all. or very, very minimal. Lots of small branch locations or small branch locations. Fit controller, where you have larger site requirements between the two. Everything is easily done in the Fit Express. It's designed for easy onboarding, easy monitoring, configuration, and troubleshooting. It's also similar from the Fit controller. Slightly more work. You have to type the serial number in, for example, of the devices that you're adding, or adopt them when they get discovered in the environment. So that it makes nice and simple for you on the configuration. Things to remember: up to 30 devices with the Fit Express. If you're going over 30 and no more than 100, then the Fit controller is a nice fit for you. If you think you need to go over the 100 devices, at the moment, you're going to have to think, which platform do we want to go to? And you're probably going to then move on to the cloud-based, full-blown AI, EnGenius AI platform, which will support more than those 100 devices on that side of it. All of the hardware for the Fit platform solutions is the same across both Express and the controller-based on-prem based solution. All the switches, layer 2 plus with PoE plus, or at least PoE. There are no non-PoE switches. Wi-Fi 6 access points, external and internal on that side of it. So if we look at the access point options, we've got two internals, a 2x2 and a 4x4. The one major difference is between the 2x2 and the 4x4. The 4x4 has a 2.5 gig Ethernet port on it, as opposed to just having a 10.11.1000. However, the 2x2 also has the ability of being managed from its local device GUI. So if you need a single access point and you don't wish to use the cloud, then the Fit 6 2x2, so the EWS 357-Fit model, gives you the ability to have a standalone, non-cloud connected wireless access point that's fully configured on that side of it. For the external world, we have a 2x2 external AP that has, by default, two 5 dBi gain antennas. However, they are detachable, so you can put other directional antennas, etc., as required on that side of it. And as you can see, it has a reasonably large operating temperature range of -20 to 60 degrees, as well as being IP67 rated on that side of it. When we look at the switches basically fit into two ranges, of which the second range is split slightly further. So we have a desktop switch, which is an 8-port PoE switch. Now that is only 802.3 AF, so standard PoE on it. It's an 8-port with 2 SFP slots available. When we move to the 24-port switches, we have two 24-port switches. The differences between them is that the full PoE has a higher PoE budget on that side of it, and they are PoE plus capable on that side of it. And the same for the 48-port switches. We have a full PoE and a PoE variant. The difference being is the amount of PoE budget between the two of them on that side of it. All of the switches can be managed either using the Fit Express, the Fit controller, or from their local device GUI. They all have a web interface. You can all log on to that web interface and you can do all of the configuration that you would do from the Express controller or the Fit controller on the web interface locally on the client or the switch if you so desire. You can lock that access out from if you're managing it from the controller-based platforms on that side of it. The desktop switch doesn't have a serial console. The others do. They all, however, do have SSH consoles, and if you want to, you could configure from the command line as well on that side of it. So if we want to look at the environment, so let's drill into here and we'll look at the actual Fit controller. Now this is a demo environment, so the fitcon.-demo at EnGenius.ai/login, and if you log in there with admin and EnGenius with the password, click on here, there's a link that just takes you straight to that, pre-populating it. We are now logging into a live demo. Now there's a slight hint here where it said virtual. There is a virtual edition available, which we'll talk about at the end of this side of it. So when you first log into this, this is a simulated environment. So we've got simulated switches, APs and clients in here, but it's populating it so we can see something. We have across the top here, one hierarchical view. We've got two networks. We've got a simulated network and we have a real network. These are the names. So if we clicking into here, what are we presented with? Well, we have here a graph, an illustration that shows us the current status of our network. And this is saying that we've got some detected issues. Channel utilization is high. We can see when we hover over, so we are seeing what's actually going on here. Now I can drill into various places. So if I'm starting at the top here, okay, ignore this permission, but we're now drilling into the environment. So I'm looking and saying across my whole network. And now I want to drill into this a bit further. So I'm now looking at my simulated network. In my simulated network, I've got two switches. They're both online. I've got 50 clients and I've got 5 access points. If I go into my real network, I've got one AP that's offline. I can see from here what's actually happening. I've got illustration as to, over the last day, what's happening on my network. So over the last day, yeah, we've now up to 2 megabits. We've got one client in the environment on that side of it. What's going on here? Now I can drill down into here and say, oh, show me the switches. Selecting, expanding on here, we can quickly see that we've got some ports which are not being used, unused ports, which ports are being connected to, which are providing power, which port is providing the uplink, which VLANs are on the switch, etc. It's all visible to me. I can go in even further into detail on here. So I now want to see what's happening. So on my summary, I can see the hardware, what's been configured. I can also from here see and make configuration changes. So I can see what's been applied to the environment, how the ports have been set up, what the current status of the ports are, what VLANs have been configured into the environment. This has just got a single management VLAN on it. Likewise, I can configure my mirror port switch settings on here. I can also schedule PoE power. So for example, if I've got access points connected to this environment, it might be that I say, well, at 6 o'clock in the evening, I want to turn my access points off. Now, I'm not just turning them off in the sense of I'm turning the SSIDs off. I'm turning the APs off. Why do I want to do it? Well, it's greener. I'm not having that power being used for the access points when they're not required. Likewise, the same I can do for things like, cameras and other light, or even lighting, as people are doing on that side of it nowadays. We have link aggregation available from it, and we can also see the logs on the environment here. Now, what is really nice is we have this topology. Now, the topology, when I click on this show here, allows me to see how these devices are all interconnected. So I've got this one switch. Now this one switch, port 7, is the port that is going up to the internet. If I hover across to this point here, port 3 is connected to the AP. This is the path that the AP is taking to the environment. Because this is yellow, a yellowy orangey color, that tells me it is powering, is providing PoE. If I've got problems, I will see them highlighted in red if there's a warning on it. If I've got redundant links, I will see those all appearing on here. I can see the device. I can then say, oh, I want to see the details of this one particular switch. So I can now, or access point, I've now connected or drilled into that access point. I can see which SSIDs it's been broadcasting. Hasn't actually got any traffic going through, what the radio settings are, etc. And I can change accordingly. Its IP address. What clients do I have? Well, I haven't on here, but if I switch to the simulated network and select one of the access points at random, we're now looking at this one AP. We can see the clients that are on the device for the last day, the traffic going through it, what its radio settings are. And if I come to the clients tab here, I can now see the client devices that are associated. And from here, I can highlight a device if I want to and say, right, okay, I want to block that device from my network, or I want to make that device a VIP device. VIP devices means that we won't push them via the captive portal. They're always going to be authenticated. So for example, if you have TVs, you don't want to have the TV to keep hitting the captive portal to be authenticated. So we'll highlight that as the TV's MAC address as a VIP, and then they will never get prompted for guest authentication if this is the guest SSID on that side of it. So we can see how those devices are being controlled. Now I can do some configuration from here. We can set, the radio sales, the client balancing. Do I want to disable AX, for example, if I may have clients that don't like 802.11ax, they're legacy clients, they don't behave well. Well, okay, I will turn it off, the AX support, until these devices been removed. We can also configure meshing, etc. From here. So this is the radio settings that we set globally. You can override those on individual access points, but this is the initial settings that devices would do. The same if I want to create an SSID. I'm just going to sign into one here that I can actually control and make changes. So this particular one is a virtual, doesn't have any devices actually plugged into it, but I can at least go through the configuration. So if I'm going on to the SSID, I have here an SSID that I've pre-configured, pre-created. So corporate BYOD, and that's the name of the SSID that's going to be broadcast. It's going to be using a pre-shared key, WPA2, on both 2.4 and 5. Haven't done any bandwidth control, but I could apply either or bandwidth control based on the SSID. So the SSID has a maximum combined bandwidth of 10 megabits per second, for example. I can also do a per client based bandwidth. So each client has 1 megabit per second maximum, and I can combine the two. So I can say, for example, for my guest wireless network, I want no more than 10 megabits per second being used by all of my guests. However, no individual guest will be able to use more than 1 megabit per second. So if I've got 2 guests, they'll each have 1 megabit per second. If I have 10 guests, they will each have 1 megabit per second. If I have 11 guests, they'll get about 900k per second if they're all demanding at the same time on that side of it. I have a captive portal. Now I've configured on this captive portal a radius server using a custom radius server so that when my users hit the corporate BYOD SSID, they need to know what the pre-shared key is to get onto the wireless network. And then I want them to identify themselves using their domain credentials so that I know it's Bob that is browsing with this device on that side of it. All of this is customizable. So replace this text, you just type the text in that you actually want on here. All built in, and we can also schedule this. So I'm saying that, not going to be available on a Sunday or a Saturday because we don't work on that. We start work at 8 o'clock in the morning and we finish at 5. Sorry, finish at 6. However, on a Friday, we shut up shop early. So everybody's gone by 4. So I'm having it turning off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on that side of it. And we can also, on the access control here, put the MD's phone's MAC address in so that he never gets prompted to tell us who he actually is. We can also turn around and block devices. So I could turn around, and if somebody, there's a device that we do not want on our network that keeps appearing because he knows what the pre-shared key is, well, we will deny him full stop from the authentication perspective. And when I want to apply, I just click apply and away we go. Configuring switches is similar. Come to the switches. Haven't currently got any switches at this location. Why is that? Because I'm sitting at where I put my switches. No, let me add one from the inventory here. So put in a fictitious switch. So I've now said that that switch is going to be at this location. And from here, I could then go in and configure the switch on that side, how I want it configured. It will then get its configuration once it logs into the system and is discovered. Now, the switches and access points will discover the Fit controller on-prem if it's on the same subnet. If it's on a different subnet or a different broadcast domain, then you have to tell the switch stroke access point where the controller is, and that is done. The easiest way is doing it via a DHCP option on your DHCP controller to specify the IP address of the controller on that side of it. We also in here have the option of being able to back up and restore, as well as configuring the mail server, where to send alerts from, etc. Now, one of the things that we have nicely on here is that we have the ability to add additional administrators. Now, all of the username or email usernames are based on email addresses. However, you don't necessarily need an email server to actually use it. The username has to have an @ symbol in it. If you've been invited to use the environment, you will then, when you hit the login page, you have the option of creating your account. And if the email address is one that we recognize, i.e. one that's been pre-configured, you then get invited to create a password, etc. on that side of it. I've got here some various admin usages. So we've got a global master admin, which is currently logged on here, and I have got access to the system as well as to all of the environments. We have here, though, this admin fit who only has viewing privileges to the system. And I can also drill down and say, well, on this R&D site, he actually only has viewing permissions, so he can't make any changes to the R&D environment. However, he could make to finance and other places. So I've now got this admin, this admin fit user, fit admin, who only has admin rights to the sales team, marketing, lobby, and finance. And then obviously I would then have a R&D at local, and he has no control to the fit controller. However, he is going to have admin rights to the R&D environment. So yep, he's just popped in, and he now only has the admin rights to that one environment. The other device or user we've got here is this front desk user. Now the front desk user, think of as a receptionist. I need to generate a guest pass when a user comes in. It's the front desk user that generates the desk pass on that side of it. So we have, I'd say, the fit controller based solution here. Why do we want it? Well, it's a NMS platform, network management platform, designed for those small and medium-sized businesses. It's scalable demand with that greater data autonomy. It's all kept on site. It's an on-prem based solution. Growing the business for future network expansion, up to that 100 devices. Everything is kept on that site for you. It's a network appliance with market-proven and professional NMS system built in. It is basically the EnGenius AI cloud-based controller in a on-prem based box. The standard variant, not the Pro. Although it does, as you've seen, have some of the Pro type functionality. It's been designed for that customized hardware. It's small, scalable, so up to 100 devices. Nice thing, plug and play. You plug it in, it gets an IP address. If you're powering it from PoE, no power cables, plug it into PoE port, it gets an IP address, and you can then log on to the web interface and manage it. If it doesn't have an IP because there's no DHCP server on the network, then there is a default IP address to connect to it on that side of it. Manages, as I said, up to those 100 devices. The hardware that it manages, so the switches and the access points, are the same as with the Express ones. We can, however, divide it into up to 50 networks. That one, as it's saying, subdomains, subnetworks, networks. So we've got the top one on the left up here, where we've got a switch and a couple of access points. Indoor access, we've got some just access points. And then we've got just switches, and then just another one, which is a small subdomain with both internal and external access points on it. It's up to you how you want it. Small, nice box. One of the nice things is it has a micro SD slot on the front that allows you to put in a card for backup purposes, etc. on that side of it. Haven't got PoE port available for it? Not a problem. There is an option for a 12-volt power supply on that side of it. 2 management ports, or 2 ports on the back, so we're not losing a switch port on the switch. Yes, you're losing the PoE, but we haven't lost the port. Nice and small, and as you can see, it has that powerful quad-core CPU. Now there is a virtual edition available. It's running under a Docker instance. More information can be found at that URL for the Fit controller VM. However, it doesn't require a particularly heavy environment. An x86 based PC, server or cloud instance. So yes, you could mount it in, host it in the cloud. It's relatively light on its CPU requirements. An i3 2-core, 1 gig of memory, available for the Fit controller and storage. Most standard Linux distributions are obviously supported because it's a Docker-based solution. However, you can also run it on a Windows 10/11 64-bit if you have WSL2 enabled, and you can then install the Docker desktop application to run the Fit controller. Now the nice thing is you do your clean install, for example, of a Linux platform, minimal install. You then download the script from EnGenius to do the rest of the configuration, and it will then configure or validate that your Docker install is installed. If not, it will then guide you through the installation process, configuring it for you, and then it installs the application. And once that's completed, you log on to the IP address and create your first user, add your devices, and away we go. Very simple. Probably have it up and running within less than 5 minutes of the initial log on to the command line to start the process. Supports, as I said, again, all of the hardware. Going to quickly run through these multi-layered. So multiple groups, as we've said, we've got the multiple capability of multiple managed networks, how we're managing them, how I want to manage the environment. Hierarchical view, and of course then we have the ability for different management levels for admin access. Viewers can only view, admins can control, and then we have a master admin that has control over everything in the environment. Nice thing here, we can see how devices are connected, how things are going out to the internet, what the PoE status is running, etc. on that. If it's the fans on there, we can see that there's a fan that's faulty and an alarm, temperature, overheat, etc. We're getting that information being displayed to us. Similar thing as we've seen for the access points. Same for the switches. Why do we want to use a controller-based solution as opposed to having a single access point or multiple single access points? Because we can leverage things like faster roaming, better selection of bands to use for clients, better access point to use for clients, as well as turning around and saying, well, we're actually going to isolate clients from each other. We do not want guest clients to have access to each other on that side of it. So we have that full isolation. We can ensure the quality during peak time. So we have the bandwidth control. We can limit the clients associating, which band they're associating to. We can do the traffic shaping, and we can also block those devices that we don't want on particular networks or to bypass them. It's nice to know what our device or clients are actually using on the environment. So we can see here that, yeah, there's a lot of Google applications running around. There's a lot of Netflix as well. This environment here says there's not a lot of work taking place. I'm seeing a bit of Google, might be a bit of Google Docs, but there's a lot of Netflix, PlayStation, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, very little work related taking place. If we're going to use the Fit Express, so the traditional way of accessing this is using the app. Now you can access this as well through the web interface. Why do we want to use the Express? because it's designed for places with minimal amount of IT knowledge or support, or they may also just have multiple sites with small number of device requirements. So we have our device on here. I will show you some of these screens later on. Designed and safe for those businesses with zero IT or very, very minimal IT support. It's designed to be simple to use and simple to onboard devices. It's designed to make the setup for reliable and secured wireless network. You create your account, you onboard your device, and EnGenius will have created a staff and a guest SSID for you as a template. You then go in and change or set the authentication that you want on them. So for the staff devices, I want to have a pre-shared key or a radius server telling you where it is. For the guest devices, guest network, I want this captive portal to be used, or I want this captive portal as well as a pre-shared key to be used on that side of it. It may also be you want to manage multiple locations where I've got a small number of devices being deployed. It may be that you've got multiple customers that you're actually managing as a service provider or assistant on that side of it. They are all isolated, but they are all in the same GUI for you from a viewing perspective on that side of it. Entire management process is or can be from a mobile app without installing any other software other than the application on your phone, or you can do it all via a web browser. We scan if we're deploying from the phone. We scan the barcode, nice and simple. We log into our account, we scan the barcode, we then do the configure. So we say that AP we want to deploy on this network, and we can then monitor and we can also troubleshoot all from that same application on it. Multiple sites, there's no interaction between these sites. They can have totally separate configuration. They could potentially be totally separate customers on it. They could equally have the same configuration applied to all the sites, but it's all displayable on a single screen that you can drill into as required. EnGenius Fit is the overlying management platform from the cloud. It again supports the entire EnGenius Fit hardware portfolio. The switches, the access points are the same as if you're using them with the controller. However, recently there has been an announcement that there will be a SD-WAN gateway coming out for the EnGenius Express cloud solution. Now, this gateway device is a lower end device out of the range of the SD-WAN gateways from EnGenius. It will, however, have a single 2.5 gig port, 3 1 gig ports, one of which will provide PoE+, one SFP port for you, and it will allow you to provide things like DHCP, VPN capability, both client to site to site, as well as client to site based, if you so desire. So this could be your gateway solution for you. Roughly, this is what it's going to look like. This is an initial mock-up image. We're still waiting for confirmation that it will be called the ESG 320 on that side of it, but the appliance is going to have these capabilities on that side of it. The important thing is that it can be manageable only from the Fit Express solution in the cloud, i.e. the managed the cloud, not the on-prem based management solution. What do I do if I need to have the gateways and I've got on-prem based management? Well, I've got two choices. Nothing says I can't have a management for my gateway devices being solely in the cloud and all my on-prem devices being on the on-prem based. Or I could have alternatively have gone down the EnGenius AI route first, which combines the controller from the cloud perspective with the EnGenius gateway devices. Some of the main key points are why do I choose the Fit solution? Well, if you're a shop owner, I want to set up for secure guest wireless access, but it's separated from my staff networks. I don't want my staff devices or my corporate devices being on the same network as my guest devices, certainly from a wireless perspective. I want to block internet access from suspicious clients. Now, suspicious clients could be something as simple as I don't want my corporate devices connecting to my guest network. I want to worry, in-store customers not using all my internet bandwidth. Well, Fit will address all of those command requirements for you, Fit Express. Maybe I've got multiple branches. Well, how can I manage my branch most efficiently? I don't have time on site for support when there's a problem. How can I have someone manage my device remotely for me? And how do I know if my devices have got any problems, if they've gone offline? Well, Fit Express. We can manage all of those devices around the environment on that side of it. It's, as I said, a nice 3-step. I will go show you. You power on the device, you make sure it can get to the internet, you scan its code, which adds it into the environment for you. It creates, by default, there will be when you first create your account. So I'm just going to log in because I thought it would have expired. So I've just logged into my environment. I'm here. Again, there's actually no client, no devices in here. This is effectively a dummy account. I've come in. These are the 2 SSIDs that it's created by default. And we have a guest SSID. And if I click into the guest SSID here, we can see that currently it's open. There's no portal selected, so I need to go and put a portal on here. Well, I'm going to select that it's using a portal. It's going to use a local one, and it's going to use the classic portal here. So this is the classic one here. I have methods of here, so I could say, well, I want the natural one, so a slightly different flavor. I can change the logos on here, update, put my own text in. Do I want terms and conditions? So terms and conditions, what I want to apply on here. What my bandwidth limitation? Well, I don't want to have all of my internet bandwidth taken by my guest users. So I'm saying you've got, all my guest users got 10 megabits per second, but I don't want one person taking all of it. So I'm going to say, well, you've got a maximum of 1 up, 1 down each, etc. So you're going to get basic mail and browsing on that side of it. No, we're giving you here some hints as to what type of bandwidth limitations applying and what the sort of applications would be. I've done that. I've got my template. Well, when do I want it? Well, we don't. I want a scheduled custom. We can say, well, it goes from 8 to 5 every day, 8 to 5 on a weekdays. Every day of weekends. I want every day. We're not open on a Sunday, so turn it off on a Sunday. On that side of it, 8 to 5 every day. Now we go, click apply. Okay, I have to set my portal template up. What am I redirecting them to? On that page, so not changing where they're going to. Just click apply, and I've now got my guest SSID created, and I can do the same for my staff SSIDs if I want to. Staff one, slightly different normally. Use a password, WPA2, PA3 personal, pre-shared keys, or I might want to tie it into a Radius server. Radius server, just tell it where the Radius server is on that side of it, and away we go. We can again put portals in if we want to, and we have the same bandwidth control capabilities, etc. on that side of it. If I want to create a new SSID, nice and simple, put the name in, specify if it's a staff or a guest. The differences here is if it's a guest SSID, then we've got layer 2 isolation enabled. If it's a staff, layer 2 is not enabled. That's primarily the differences between them that we go through. Switches are configured in a similar way on that side of it. Available from the web interface as well. As I said, difference being guests can't communicate with each other because we have layer 2 isolation enabled by default. Customizing of the portals, you can customize them. We can also see overall what's actually happening in the environment, what SSIDs are being used all on the environment, but it does tell me, hang on, I've got some attention required, and we can actually go and see what the problem is. It'll say, I've got an access point down, recommended action, go and make sure it's plugged in, power cycle, yeah, unplug it, plug it back in again. It tells us all the information about it, how to suggest it. Likewise, we can see, which are the busiest access points, which they're doing the upload, download throughputs, etc. on that side of it. So it gives us all the information. Same for the switches. How much PoE is being used, which ports are providing power, etc. When they're scheduled to be on and off, etc. So we have all of those functionality. Again, we can block clients. We can block them everywhere. We can also block them from single SSIDs. So, and a good example here is the corporate devices being blocked from being able to use the guest SSID, for example. Multiple management networks on here. There are some limitations. So I've got multiple CAFs that I'm monitoring. Is here. Now we have as an owner and we have a viewer. An owner means it's been created in your account, and then you can share it with other people. Admin, you've obviously got full admin access. As a viewer, it's read-only on that side of it. There are some limitations, so you can have a maximum of 5 networks in an owner account, and 5 admins per network, the owner, and 4 invited. And you can have unlimited number of invited networks, and a maximum of 30 devices per owner account on that side of it. So if you've got a chain of coffee shops, cafes, create each cafe as a owner with up to its devices, and then invite the master admin to all of those sites on that side of it to give you your scalability over those 30 device limitation. Diagnostics all built in to it, all from here, so we can see the activity. We can test the ports as well. We can also ping from the device, so we can see what the response time is for Google and Facebook and Twitter, etc. Cable diagnostics, what switch ports are being used, and also the real-time usage, all from the switch. So we're getting a lot of the enterprise features all in the environment. So the rollout process takes you through a wizard. These next few slides are screenshots of the process as we go through that, and away it goes. Comparison between the two. Fit, small solutions where the internet is available and cloud management is allowed and the cost is important. You buy the hardware and that's it. Controller, the on-prem based where the internet is not available or cloud management is not possible stroke allowed for you. How does it all tie in? So the EnGenius Fit solution sits into here. Small end users, small businesses, the Fit Express with the clouds, Fit controller. And if you're exceeding the 100 devices or the 50 network environment here, then we move on to the EnGenius Cloud solution, which is the complete professional hardware portfolio. Unlimited devices, unlimited networks, as well as the pro features. More historical data, however, more costly. Okay, so do we have any questions, Sam?
We do have a couple of questions, Richard. Do the PoE switches have PoE on all 24 ports?
There are 24 port switch, yes. You have the PoE budget that you can't obviously exceed, but all 24 ports are PoE switch, PoE enabled. Same with the 48 port, same with the 8 port.
Great, thank you. How long can equipment be disconnected from the internet before it loses the configuration?
So long as it has power, it maintains its current configuration.
Right.
So indefinitely.
Indefinitely, yeah. And will the Fit access points be supported by Cloud AI, or do
Nope.
I have to purchase new
Nope,
hardware?
they are new hardware. They are, although they may look similar, they may have internally different hardware components. They also run different firmware on them. So there's no upgrade path from a Fit AP to a Cloud AI AP. That's the one decision that you have to make when you're taking the decision, your initial design. Do I want to stick with a up to 100 devices, or do I need additional over that 100 limitation?
It's probably worthwhile mentioning at this point, we actually have another webinar coming up on the 4th of July where Richard's going to be going through the cloud version of EnGenius. So for people that maybe are considering cloud, then I'd recommend you come along to that one. And then we've got another one in August about particularly looking at MSPs and how they can benefit from the EnGenius solution as well. So if you head to our website and go to the webinars page within the resources section, you'll find links where you can go and register for those sessions now to get them in your calendar. Right, so that takes us up to the hour. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you very much, Richard, for a great presentation on the EnGenius Fit solution. We'll send you a link to the recording in the next couple of days once it's all finished uploading and processing and all the rest of it. Yeah, we hope to see you in July for the next session.
Thank you all.